Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thank you for jumping back into another bigger picture look of crypto. Today, I just wanted to make a video and look at the MACD. All right, so I want to look at the monthly MACD, the 2-week MACD, and sort of see, what can we take from that? Can we find, patterns that happened in the past, or may extrapolate where we might go to in the near future, and kind of use those to see, where can we expect Bitcoin to continue to? Where can we expect Bitcoin to maybe form a base, a bear market base, and kind of go from there? All right, so let's jump on in. Like the video if you guys can. That would be absolutely amazing if you guys can like the video. And let's talk about some MACDs, all right? Now, this is the logarithmic MACD. So basically what this MACD does is it normalizes, right, the MACD. If you bring up the normal MACD, you'll see it's going everywhere, right? Some peaks are lower, some peaks are higher. This one just normalizes it, okay? So if you actually take a look here and see where we're kind of at, you can notice that last month was the first monthly MACD candle that actually started to flip back over to the positive side, right? And if you go back and you look at what's happened in each previous bear market, when the monthly MACD starts to flip back positive, it tends to mean that, okay, Bitcoin's seen its monthly close low. Doesn't mean you can't wick lower, okay? It usually means that you've seen your monthly close low, and you should see each close from here on out continue to be a higher monthly close. Now, I stress close because that does not mean you can't have, we haven't seen in the past a wick lower, right? If you go back to 2019, right here, that ended up being when it started to flip back over positive on this candle right here. You can notice it was this candle right here, and that did mark the monthly close low. But if you go back to, say, 2015, you can see right here that when that started to flip back over, we did get the monthly close low come in shortly after, but we did see a giant wick back in 2015 that pushed the price, if we actually look here, that actually pushed the price another 32% lower than that current monthly close price. So, and if you take like that 30%, like if Bitcoin was to have like to close the monthly here and have that another wick back down 30%, I mean, another 30% drop could put Bitcoin in that 10K range that everyone's talking about. So that's not terribly out of the possibility here. What can we take from this? Well, we can take from this that last month it started to flip back over. Okay, now the other thing that I'll sort of say here is this doesn't mean you can't go lower. So I know you're going to have all the macro guys in here saying that you can go lower, you can go lower, and this actually does show that you can go lower, right? So we know we started to flip back over. Typically that meant the monthly close low was in. Now we know unless we close back above 18,900 this month, which is looking pretty unlikely at this point, we're going to make another monthly close low. Now this is all about building a base, right? And I know there's a lot of people calling for 10K, 12K, 14K. Basically what this indicator shows me is when you start to lose that momentum to the downside, right? That crazy momentum to the downside where you're just getting pushed, kind of like you were in April, May, and June, you're coming up to a point where you're going to start building a base. And I do think there is definitely room to go lower to the 10, 12, 14K market. And that's supported here by the MACD. If you look at when, the previous bear markets bottomed out, you can notice it was about this like negative 0.14 mark you guys can see over here to the right. Now, this does show, if you actually look, that this does have some more downside that could come in here, typically when Bitcoin bottoms out on the monthly MACD. So this could lead us to, that scenario where you see that 10, 12, 14K BTC that everyone's calling for, and you sort of end up exactly where you've been in the past, and this starts to, just kind of make a base here, and it continues to roll back over, okay? Now, I will say this too. You can make monthly closes that are lower and still have this turnover, right? As long as Bitcoin, closes, kind of where we are, a little bit higher than where we are this month, which is only 8 days away, right? If Bitcoin goes up a little bit to end the month, wouldn't be surprising, and you could still end up going lower next month on a wick or something like that, right? So as long as Bitcoin kind of just stays in this little slow trajectory to the downside, what you're going to notice is the MACD is going to start flipping back over. Now, like I said, doesn't mean you can't go lower, but it means that you're building sort of this bear market base, sort of like you did here in 2018 as you sort of continue lower for multiple months. But the MACD started to obviously flip back over at that point. And over here in 2014, where you sort of just continue, you kind of continue to flip back over on the monthly closes, not wicks, and the monthly MACD sort of started to roll back over. I think you're going to see something similar to that over the course of the next couple months. Now, it doesn't have to happen now, but just something to keep your eyes on as we sort of go forward. And if you are someone that's sitting on the sidelines and saying, hey, when should I get back into the market? I want to do it at a safe time and not sort of try to catch a falling knife and sort of speculate, oh, I'm going to go all in at 14K on the drop or all in at 10K on the drop. You could, if you wanted to be a little bit, risk adverse and say, okay, I'm not going to buy until the market looks a little better. In theory, you could wait until, the monthly MACD actually flips back over. Now, this one's not going to get you the best returns, but this one, based off past history, right, has sort of said, okay, when the monthly MACD starts to flip back over, that's been a fantastic time to buy, right? 2015, you bought at that point, you bought at $400, Bitcoin went up to 20K, right? If you did that back in 2019, you started buying basically at like 8K. Were you a little bit late to the party? Yeah, you were a little bit late to the party. And even did it like in July of 2020, you were still buying at like 10K. So you're a little bit late to the party. But if we could do that, if you want to be a little bit risk adverse, and you can also go to the 2-week MACD, which gives you, in my opinion, is like my go-to to say, okay, I think the market's really going to start coming back, is when I see that 2-week MACD start to flip back positive, right? Times in the past, you could obviously see right now, we still have multiple 2-week candles to go, right? We're not even close to that 2-week MACD flip. We really haven't been even close this whole bear market, which why I think this is such a good indicator. And for the longer term charts, right? We're not talking daily and sort of 4-hour time frame here. For the longer term charts, I really, really like this because it makes you step back and say, okay, the market maybe looks recovering like it maybe did in sort of June, where you went from like 17K to 25K. That's great, but have we really gone anywhere on some of these momentum indicators? No, right? We didn't really go anywhere. So you can wait for the 2-week MACD flip. And if you did that, you would have gone in May of 2020. You would have got in, same thing, around 8K in May of 2020. But in April of 2019, you would have ended up getting in around 5K, which I think you'd be pretty happy getting in at 5K. Bitcoin went up to 14K, right? You can take a little profits there. You can hold until the next bull market went to 20K. And you can even go back to times in the past, like 2015, this crossed back over. You would have bought at $200. I think we're going to end up seeing something more similar to 2014 than 2018. I think we're going to see something similar to this, where we end up just really range locked on the longer term time frames, right? If we go to the monthly time frame, I think we'll end up range locked for quite a period of time, and it could be a bigger range this time. I do think, a range, depending on where Bitcoin bottoms. I'm not here to pick a bottom, man. I'm just here to say, okay, here's where we're at. We still have, in theory, until the next bull market, we still have a long time to go. We need to start building out a base. We could end up building out a base, between this like 23K level. I know a lot of people are calling for like, 13, 14K. Maybe we go to 12K or wherever we go. I think we end up building sort of a longer term base in this region. And we're sort of just battling it out with this region for quite a period of time before the monthly MACD starts to flip back up and we can say, let's friggin' go. We're off to the races, right? So that's where we're kind of at. I just wanted to do an update, and this is one of the things I'm going to be waiting for. As sort of this bear market progresses, and we sort of say, okay, here's where we're at. When can we expect Bitcoin to really start going off and really start doing what we want it to do? I don't think we're at it at this point. I think we got to let the market settle, let the market build a base, which we were hoping was going to be in that June, July, August, September area. We get a little bit premature there, right? And not premature you're talking about, but premature there. And now we're sort of letting the dust settle, okay? And this goes for all the people who don't want a knife catch. These are some indicators you could look at to say, okay, market's recovering. I'm going to go in at this point and sort of go from there. But that's where we're at, my friends. That is where we're at. And if you were to sort of say, okay, every single time we got a little bit of bear market rally, did anything really change in hindsight, right? If we go back and look, this could be an indicator you use in the future. You can say, okay, 2 week was recovering here, but I mean, you really didn't go anywhere on the MACD. 2-week was recovering here, but you also look down. 2-week wasn't really covering. So if someone who's a little bit risk averse, you could wait for this to flip over and you could be off to the sunsets, as they would say, and not trying to time that Pico bottom to get those absolute juiciest gains. And I also wanted to show you guys this on the S&P chart, right? If you actually look at where we're at on the S&P looks like it's about to flip bullish on that 2-week time frame right here. You guys can see it's about to flip back bullish. We're also at this trend line on the S&P. Now, I want to warn you guys, right? Because this is what Bitcoin's done sometimes, right, on some shorter term time frames, and the S&P obviously is a long-term time frame chart. So you can use this 2-week time frame as sort of say, okay, maybe this is like a short-term time frame for Bitcoin. If you look at what's happened in the past, right? So we just said 2-week MACD about to flip back over bullish on the S&P. If we go back to some of the big corrections on the S&P, all right, some of the big corrections, we look at, say, 2008. Very similar downtrend of resistance. If you watch my live stream channel, we know we've been talking about the S&P fractal in 2008. The reason we say this is if the S&P goes down, Bitcoin most likely drops as well. You can see the S&P had a similar downtrend of resistance where we came up one last time, we capitulated back down. Very similar to what we're doing now, right? Downtrend of resistance, we retested it. Is that going to be the final retest before coming back down? Right after we almost get that 2-week MACD flip. The reason I bring this up, we look back over here, you can see as we come up for that final retest, a few of these times, the 2-week MACD almost flips, but then you get that final flush out back down to the downside. Will we see something similar to like that this time around, right? Over here in the bear market 2002, 2020, 2023. Similar to what you did in 2008, where you see that almost flip. Or you got teased a little bit, and then you just get flushed out to the downside. And sort of same thing back here in sort of 2000, which is even more interesting, is when the S&P came back up, you actually did get a 2-week MACD flip right here. But where was it? Ding, 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 right? Big downtrend of resistance on the 2-week that you couldn't break. You get that 2-week MACD flip, you retest, and that's the final flush out back down to the downside for the S&P. Are you going to see the same thing this time? Okay, and that's why I say stress caution here, guys, because Bitcoin could still see lower, right? If the S&P does this, the MACD on Bitcoin is going to go a little bit lower too, and that's the case, okay? But a lot of people are comparing this bear market to, say, 2008, and I stress that. We look at when the 2-week MACD actually flipped in 2008 was in April 2009. That was right here, and we obviously did go up to break. And obviously, the big point was we broke this downtrend of resistance, the 2-week MACD flip, and we're off to the races. And same thing here, right? When you actually did get that 2-week MACD flip, and then you broke that downtrend of resistance, when you got both of those parameters, good things happened. Now, you can see where we're sitting right now, okay? We're sitting right at that resistance right now. The 2-week MACD is about to flip, but nothing's changed, right? We're still below the downtrend of resistance, right? Still well below. If we really want to draw it really like this, we're still well below that downtrend of resistance. We still haven't got that 2-week MACD flip. So neither of things happened yet. Okay, and we have to watch what we have going forward for not only Bitcoin, but for the stock market and make our decisions that way. All right, so that's the video for today, guys. I'm going to be making a video every morning on this channel to go over more macro stuff, right? We're going to look at 2-week charts, monthly charts, weekly charts, and have some fun with those and kind of do our thing over here. So as always, leave a like if you're still watching. And if you're not, well, see ya, bozo. Later, my friends. Peace.